An innocent home renovation that resulted in police at their doorstep. An ordinary couple from Ohio was in the midst of their 40s home renovation when they suddenly came close to something incredible. After finishing the first and second stories of their home, they decided to move to the basement. However, they were completely unprepared for what they would find there. They began by knocking down the plywood, and it was then that something grabbed their attention. They saw an object that grabbed their attention and they began to examine it further. While they were interested to see what it was, they did not expect that the police would ever arrive. They began chipping the walls, and the husband found some graffiti across the room. Ever since the second they began renovations, they found surprise after surprise. The homeowners were in shock at what they were seeing when they took off the wallpaper. They suddenly saw writings and drawings all over the walls, and they could never have known that this was just the beginning. In between the subfloor and the ceiling, they found something stuffed in between. As he looked more closely, he saw that the object was fitted perfectly in between both stalks of wood. He used his strength and grabbed the object down. This man was not very attentive to what was going on around him and continued cleaning the area as he hammered through the wood. He used his camera so that he could document all of his journeys. After the walls began to break down, he started to break the ceiling down as well. Suddenly, he found something that grabbed his attention. He found something that was strange, and then realized this bulk was a suitcase. The suitcase was gray and green and was left behind for someone to find. He grabbed it and was a bit taken back by its weight. Something was off, and he was going to get to the bottom of it. He had something within him that told him to be careful when going about this situation. He was becoming feverish and he needed to calm down before getting ahead of himself. He took a deep breath in and let it out before going forward. He called his wife and waited patiently for her to return home so they could look inside together. He wanted her to be part of the big reveal, and also if something were to go wrong. Someone was doing what they could to keep the suitcase hidden, and they were not quite sure why. He patiently waited for his wife and started examining the suitcase. What he could not get off his mind was the weight of the suitcase. It was heavier than any other suitcase before. Although it was a small suitcase, it was hiding huge secrets. He started to think about what could be inside, and they were sure it was valuable, given it was hidden so intensely. He found it extremely mind-blowing to find items like this, and he was eager to discover what was inside. As soon as his wife returned home, he told her what he discovered. It was just like any other Christmas. Today, he went to unwrap something unknown. The couple got together and discussed what they thought could be hidden inside the box. His mind went to so many places as he began to wonder if there was money inside, cards or jewelry. While his expectations were rather low and he expected to find just some plain old sports cards, this was very far off. The couple opened the suitcase and they noticed that everything seemed to be as usual. They retrieved piles of wax paper, wrapped objects, but they were still unclear with what was inside. As soon as they started unraveling the wax paper, they understood what these wads were. The couple held it up together and examined it closely. He began taking off the wax paper and then suddenly noticed that he was looking at money. There was a huge stack of $20 bills, and this was just one of the stacks. They started looking through the bills and understood that they were old. They were in shock at how much money they were looking at and who had put it there in the first place. At this point, they were both freaking out and they were looking at nearly thousands of dollars. The man told the news outlet that things like this never happened to him and he wasn't quite sure what to do. They were excited to unwrap bundles, to uncover if they would be the same or something else inside. They looked at the bundles like they had never seen something more exciting in their lives. They were hoping to find something similar in the remaining bundles. They couldn't contain their excitement as they unpeeled the wax layers. However, these bundles did not reveal $20 bills, but instead $50 and $100. Later on, he explained that as he found the packages, they were in complete shock. The second package didn't have any 20s, it was all 50s. What is going on here? There could be $5 grand here. Wait, the third package is 100s. This is out of control. The couple was finding random money hidden in their home, and it was no joke. They were excited until they soon realized that they had no idea where this money came from and why it was being hidden in the first place. While they were unsure of its original origin, they did know that the money was quite old. It indicated that the bills dated back to the 20s and 30s. The real question was, how much money was there? As the investigation thickened, they began to notice something more. Everything about their findings had an ancient quality about them. They were extremely eager to learn more. After taking the bundles from the suitcases, they found another shock that answered some of their questions. They noticed a newspaper that indicated a date that they could not seem to take their eyes off of. The date of the paper showed that the items were from as far back as 1951. The newspaper was part of an old paper called the Cleveland Plain Dealer. The couple couldn't believe how old it was. They were very excited about this discovery and that it was part of the local newspaper in Cleveland. However, what they still were unaware of was how much money was in today's currency. They could not believe how lucky they were. The bills were not just regular bills, but some were star bills, meaning that they never went to the markets. All of the bills were from over 7 decades ago. They were completely surprised at what they found, and they reached out to a lawyer who would help them with understanding how valuable all the money was. The lawyer told them that they had about $23,000 in that briefcase. After an exciting week of celebrations, lawyer meetings, and recovering from the surprise, the couple decided to go back to a normal life. They were ecstatic about their discovery, but they decided it was time to get back to some normalcy. Even though they found such an amazing discovery in their home, that didn't mean that the home renovations were over yet. The man was about to find yet another surprise waiting for him in the ceiling. The man was alone again when he found a second suitcase in his home. He could not contain his excitement and was also a bit surprised that he missed it the first time. Again, he waited for his wife to come home so they could be excited together. The man spoke to Reddit and said that they are ordinary, boring people who will just use the money to pay their mortgage. This was definitely the craziest thing to happen to them. He used his camera to track the entire experience, but he was unaware of what he would find in the future. It made sense that they would be more curious as the time would go on. They were unprepared for the endless mysteries that could be lying in their home. They could not abandon the basement in this condition, so they kept going on their search. Suddenly, they heard something that made them take a seat. By this point, it was clear that they needed to call the FBI. The homeowners wanted to keep going with their home renovations, so they also did. When his wife entered their home, he immediately opened the suitcase to see what was inside. Again, they found bundles of money, and the total amount is genuinely jaw-dropping. They were very happy to find the bundles of money, but they did not realize that they would soon find much more, as a man returned to his renovation and found another suitcase. They were so focused on what they found in the first suitcase that they were excited about the next find. Unfortunately, this suitcase did not have the same thing as before. They weren't sure if they would keep finding bundles of money as they continued with the home renovation, or if he would find something else. He patiently waited for his wife yet again to see what they could do. The suitcase looked the same as the other, but they were unaware of the items inside were the same as the other. They were not going to waste any time, and they opened the suitcase right away. After a while, the hype over the suitcases started to lessen as they found something completely unexpected in their project. Suddenly, they found a weird door that seemed rather mysterious. They opened it up and found something rather disturbing. They saw that the case was filled with money in an organized manner. The two of them gasped, and at the thought of how much money they had at this point, this discovery was far more shocking than the first. At this point, they had no words. They could not believe just how lucky they were. Now they had accumulated nearly $45,000, and they could call themselves rich. They were both ecstatic and shocked once again. They were motivated to continue with their home renovations and hopeful that they would find something else along the way. Either way, they were happy with what they found. They continued their work in the basement and couldn't help but wonder if there was something else hidden in the home. What they surely didn't expect was to be in contact with the FBI. It was clear that the home was full of secrets, and they wanted to continue looking through. Now they knew where to look and what they could find, and their motivation was growing stronger. The realtor advised them about a secret door that held the water heater. Their instincts told them to look there for something valuable, and that is exactly what they did. They soon realized that their instincts had been correct the entire time. They took one look behind the doors and found the most shocking secret hidden. It turned out that the realtor kept this from them. Actually, she lied to them. It turns out that this was no ordinary water heater room. The realtor told them this to make the house out to be somewhat normal. As soon as they opened the door, they couldn't believe what they saw before their eyes. The secret room was much larger than they expected. It was covered in carpets, and soon they realized that the room was not the only surprise waiting for them. He went inside and requested that his wife wait until he was sure it was safe. He began to wonder, and his thoughts were going in every direction. What exactly was behind the door? Imagine what it would be like to live in your house your entire life and suddenly learn so many things about it only later. Unfortunately for these two, the door was bolted shut by a master lock. However, he had no intention of giving up. He was desperate to know what was inside. He ran downstairs, grabbed a hammer, and started smashing it open. They noticed that the room had been used for a long time, and someone was trying their best to keep it hidden. The room was deteriorated, not only cold and dark, but also covered in mold. They weren't quite sure what it was used for. By this point, the couple had been living in the house for a good amount of time now, but it was their first time they ever went to this part of the home. They couldn't wrap their heads around why someone would need a soundproof room in their house. They were beginning to get spooked. Immediately, their minds went to the worst place, and they couldn't help themselves from concluding, at the worst possible scenario, there was a soundproof tarp covering the floors, walls, and ceiling, and they were becoming scared. We all know how DIY men can be, so this homeowner wanted to figure things out himself. He was so curious to get to the bottom of it. He pondered so many different ideas, none of which led to the truth. What do you think the room was for? Soon they noticed that the secret soundproof room was actually not empty. It had a briefcase on the floor, and this made him nervous. Before picking it up, he took a deep breath and gathered his thoughts. He had now found hidden suitcases, hidden rooms, and a hidden briefcase. Something was clearly going on. While this started as a simple home renovation project, something sinister took over. As they opened the briefcase, they found an old wooden box, some watches, rings, jewelry, and envelopes filled with money from varying currencies. They were shocked and had no idea where such items came from or who they belonged to. This door led to another door, and that door led to a room covered in soundproof tarps. This was getting far too spooky. He started to imagine the room as a torture chamber, and he felt sick to his stomach. They examined the whole room and suddenly found something that led to some answers. At this point, things were getting out of hand, and they needed to contact the authorities. Enough was enough, they said. As they continued searching the room, they noticed more strange items inside. At first, they found an ancient brown briefcase. The first two were so valuable that they decided to try their luck on opening this one too. Unfortunately, they began to realize that their expectations had been too high. Instead, they found something very strange inside. They made sure to take photos so that they could document everything that was going on. The couple had no intention of forgetting an experience like this one. They were so interested to uncover the truth behind what they found. Inside the case, they saw expensive antique jewelry that must have belonged to someone before, watches, a ring, and 4 silver ingots. Then they found something else inside. The case was filled with envelopes with money from different countries. After continuing their investigation, they noticed a black sentry safe in the corner of the room. To make this secret room even more secretive, this safe did not help. The room was filled with mystery, and he was starting to feel intimidated. It was clear that things were about to get a whole lot spookier. It was clear to him that he would probably find something that he did not want to see in his lifetime. Everything he found was so valuable, but he knew there were secrets involved. He knew to call the authorities was the right thing to do. None of their speculations were wrong. He pushed aside his thoughts and peeked inside the safe. After he opened it, he found a strange note. It read, "Save yourself." All right, no chance he kept it together by this point. The sentence was so strange, but made it even worse was the style of writing and black ink used to convey the message. They were dying to know who was the writer and what it even meant. They just wanted some answers. He continued with the investigation, hoping it would reveal some answers soon enough. Soon, they found more scary items that made them feel very unsettled. They realized it was now time to communicate with the police. The man was so interested in the answers that he did not stop dig in the safe. Although he was starting to feel more and more unsafe, he could not seem to stop. He eventually found tapes that had "Do Not" written on them. The records were definitely old because they were in videotape format. In order to get the answers he wanted, he would need to watch the videos. He removed them from the safe and examined them carefully. He gasped when he realized that the videos looked strangely newer compared to the other items. This made him even more scared, but did not give any more information. Also, on the tapes were numbers that looked like sort of labels. One of the tapes did not have a label, but the other 5 did. He started to feel like this was a game and it was getting out of hand. They were desperate for the authorities to help at this point and did not know what else to do. The owner of the house was so anxious he needed to know what was inside the tapes. After examining them, he called the authorities again. He insisted they come to his home that instant to get to the bottom of this. As soon as the authorities saw the tapes, they were confiscated. The content remains a secret between the FBI, homeowners, and makers of the tape. The man wishes he did not find this discovery in the first place. Although we wish it were different, the chances are high that we will never find what was hidden on the tapes. The media says it's probably a crime scene that occurred in a soundproof room. At this point, we will never really know. After the investigation was complete, many questions remained about the items found. Between the stacks of money to the hidden videos, the question regarding the original owners still remained. There must be many more secrets to find. What do you think? What would you do if this was your position and you found something like this hiding in your home? Even more so, how do you know that there aren't items like this hiding? Thankfully, this couple was not harmed in the process of their discovery. They acted very responsibly by calling the cops, given that they could not do this on their own. Even better, they will have a great story to tell. Discovering new things in your home is not exactly a new concept. There are tons of people who have found interesting and sometimes frightening items in their homes. Here's an example of a man who bought a new home. After the homeowner passed away, the home was sold exactly how it was. When the new tenant arrived, he was excited to search the house and immediately went down to the basement. When he arrived at the bottom of the stairs, he found plywood attached to the wall. Strangely enough, he found a hidden room filled with guns and ammo. Things got stranger when he found a hollowed-out grenade. As he continued looking, he saw a huge safe and a chest loaded with pennies. When a couple from Britain was looking through their old family's basement, they found this untouched Victorian kitchen from the 1830s. It had everything you needed from pots to pans and tables to fit 20 people. In addition, there was a cookbook filled with Victorian recipes. Another couple by the names of Linda and Wally stumbled into a home that led to a huge discovery. As Linda began unpacking items in the basement, she found a unique discovery. She immediately phoned her husband to tell him that there was a torpedo in their basement. Naturally, Wally was a bit hesitant, but still went to check it out. Well, his wife was right. Down below their home, they found a giant green torpedo hidden in their basement. They conversed with an Army veteran who explained that it was for mortar or a lightweight anti-tank weapon from the Korean and Vietnam War. In the end, the authorities arrived to take it, but when the couple asked how it got in their home, they were told that sometimes people would take them as souvenirs. Okay, not sure how we feel about that. It can be really interesting to find ancient artifacts in your basement, but other times people find things that are completely different. Diane and Pat Farla were from an old home in England, and they were always curious about a strange grate in their basement. After drinking one too many glasses of wine, they decided to examine it further. After taking out an iron grill, they came upon a hole that was large enough for their nephew and friend to fit through. On the other side was a cellar that looked like a chapel. After finding this, the couple inquired about it to historians. They told them that room was from the 1700s and was used as a hidden Catholic church during a period where Catholics were frequently persecuted and murdered. Going back to 1963, another homeowner found something interesting while doing home renovations. He knocked down a wall and found a secret room that led to another and another. He found an entire underground city. The city was established through many underground tunnels. Discovering ancient photos that have been kept hidden for years is frightening, but finding photos that asks the finder if they can see him takes scary to a new level. This led the homeowners to pack their bags and get out of there. This family found a well-known Norman Rockwell painting behind a fake wall in their father's home in Vermont after he passed away. He had the fake wall stationed there so his wife could not get the original painting when they divorced. When he passed away, he never came clean. The painting was then auctioned for $15.4 million. This was not the only time something like this happened. A man in New York found a $300 million Michelangelo painting behind his couch after 27 years. While these two siblings were working on a renovation project in Nova Scotia, they found 31 love letters handwritten by a soldier from World War I. The letters were stashed in their walls, and the siblings managed to track down the grandkids of the couple. Now that's a heartwarming discovery. When this man moved into his new home, he found something very strange. He immediately noticed a misplaced sheet of wood on the wall, and he went to take it down. Right away, this led to a secret room, and he found a box of ammunition and other weapons. Many people over the years have found safes hidden in their basement. Most people tend to find safes in their basements or backyards, but one in the kitchen wall is something we aren't quite used to. And that is exactly the strange find that this person found. When he opened the safe, he saw $50,000 in cash, a bottle of bourbon, and a copy of E.F. Schumacher's A Guide for the Perplexed. Sounds weird to me. How about you? It was such a lucky day for this ordinary plumber. When he was going about his bathroom renovation, he found actual gold. He immediately saw something shiny and got a hold of it. This gold brick was worth $50,000. However, he was a nobleman and returned it to the owners of the house. Another renovation that led to a valuable find was in Arizona when these contractors discovered $500,000 in cash. It was stuffed inside military ammunition containers. This led to a debate between the contractors who felt it was legally theirs and the homeowners who said it was found on their land. The court did not rule in either favor and instead said it belonged to the person who put it there. However, this man, Robert Spann, actually died 11 years before, so the money was dispersed between his two daughters. Los Angeles has many old establishments, but Clifton's Cafeteria is one of the oldest. It is located in a historic building, and the owner found a neon light during his bathroom renovation. When he consulted experts, they said that the light was probably switched on for nearly 77 years, thus making it the longest neon light lit in history. It was most likely first turned on in 1935 when it was made into a forest-themed diner. He also then realized that this light was costing him a lot of money, nearly $17,000. Usually, neon lights should not last longer than 40 years straight. When they were renovating their home in Hungary, this couple found top-secret Nazi documentation between their walls. There were over 6,000, all from the Third Reich. The documents had information about the Holocaust, as well as an agreement to count Jews and homes that would stay in before going to the ghettos. These documents were very valuable, considering most were destroyed by the Nazis. Instead of getting rid of them, whoever was responsible for them decided to hide them. Nearly 600,000 Hungarian Jews were killed as a result of the Holocaust. A mom and her son were scavenging through their grandma's garage when they found a hand grenade. They phoned the Australian military so that they could remove it carefully. Only later did they learn that the bomb actually had no fuse, and the explosives were taken out many years before. Regardless, the finders were quite scared when they first saw it. The original homeowner was a 91-year-old woman who was married to a former World War II soldier. The grenade had its pin attached, so the whole land was cordoned off, and the police had it evacuated while they carried out their search. It is not a typical thing to find that a secret agent was occupying your home before you. It's also even rarer to learn that this secret agent was an elderly lady. When renovating their home, this family found a stash of spy-related items that were straight out of a movie. Not only did they find a machine gun, but also secret photos of Berlin post-bombing in World War II. This spy was named Eileen Burgoyne, and she died at age 98. She worked as a shadow agent with Germany, Spain, Gibraltar, and Africa, and was essential to the Cold War effort after World War II. Jason and Carrie Brown were so excited when they found this home in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in foreclosure for $75,000. They thought they were getting a great deal, but didn't realize how terrible it would actually be. They began renovations immediately, which led them to find a pathway to a secret room. There lay a note from the old homeowner that said, "You found it." What they found was a severe mold issue that made children ill. The family moved out right away and began a lawsuit against the people who sold them the home. A user named Nukestorm posted on Reddit about his new home buy. Within the home, he found a scary room in the corner of the attic. As he was moving boxes inside the home, he found this extra room. Right away, he noticed it was off. The door said it all, being 4 feet high, and a met grate attached to it. He opened it right away and saw a small bed with foam padding, one light and no doorknob on the door. This was self-explanatory. Whoever was inside could not get out. The home was also located in an isolated area. This couple was so excited to move into the new home that only cost them $180,000. Soon enough, they learned that this home was covered in garter snakes. The ground would even move because of all the snakes. As they started to find more and more snakes, they began to worry. Suddenly, they found that their home was on top of a huge snake infestation. They moved out right away and filed for bankruptcy. Amanda Reddy began her 1910 Cape Cod kitchen renovation like any other when she found a surprise that was 100 years old. She found postcards from 1907 and 1909, along with other valuables. The letters were addressed to a woman named Mame Bernack. The strange part was that the letters were not left behind. They were nailed to the wall. When renovating a home in Minnesota, this family found a copy of Action Comics #1 inside the wall. It was later auctioned off for $175,000. It was found with newspapers, and there's insulation for the home. The comic book did not have a back cover, so it was rated a 1.5 out of 10. An untouched copy, graded at 9, was auctioned for $2.16 million. When he was moving into his new home, he found a 6-foot-long wooden box that had 3 other boxes inside. The boxes had openings on both sides and a metal railing that closed together. The man was unsure what he found until he learned that the previous homeowner was a magician. It can be quite disturbing to find things in a home that have no place to be there. This mover found a straitjacket when he was moving into his home. It was made from leather, and it also had a matching leather mask. Jeez. That's not the only weird thing, but this homeowner found a box with male and female ventriloquist dummies. While some were in full parts, others were broken. Either way, it was not the most comforting sight.